Hi everyone, Angus Campbell here, Saturday the 17th of August, and as we're moving along and got some momentum going here, then want to plough on. So in the last video we completed the fitments for the gearbox outer cover, but we did note that clearance was very tight between the Kickstart quadrant, let's just get it over the edge here, and the back of the gear change mechanism back plate. So what I've done this morning is, as I said I would do, is gently grind that surface there, both the spindle there and that surface, just very lightly, just to take a little bit off, and the gearbox, the Kickstart quadrant, I'll get it right in a minute, does clear it beautifully now. So that's that one done. And then with respect to the gearbox inner cover, we had a bit of grinding to do there, just to take off a bit of that surface there. It's a little bit rough actually, because it's difficult to get the wheel in there without damaging everything else. But just to take this bearing retaining flange here, just to trim a bit of that back so it's flush with the thrust washer, as the lay shaft gear here, which I think is first gear at this end, was catching on this before butting up to the thrust washer, the lay shaft thrust washer. So we've done that. Might take a little bit more on that, off that. But anyway, so those two are just about all prepared, so we're ready then to do a test fit, and that will be that job done then. So we'll just do a bit of tidying up here, get ready to fit these and see how we get on. Okay, first the inner cover. So what I've done is I've just ground that surface a little more so it's slightly under the surface of that thrust washer there. So therefore, once we turn this round and put it on, it shouldn't catch against that gear there, and the thrust washer actually pushes against that surface there, which is very slightly proud. You can see there's a slight edge there which is designed to butt up against the thrust washer here. So we'll do an initial fit on this. The other thing is that I've just lightly polished up that shaft there, because as we noted before, it is quite a tight fit in that bearing here, which is it's no problem, but it just makes it very difficult to remove. It can be done though, but it's so it's not too much of a problem. So I've just done a light dressing on that with some emery just to polish that off a little bit. Right, let's do a first fit on this and see how it looks. Okay, so we're all just about set to go. Just to mention that I've just fitted the two locating dowels, one on each side, oiled up the shafts, oiled up the bearings, and we'll just fit this now on. I can't show you because I need two hands to tap it on, but I'll bring you back in a sec. Okay, first attempt, not too bad, but not quite there. So we've got a little bit of a gap there yet, so I'll need to take this off and investigate why that's the case. If we just look through some of the apertures here, it's quite difficult to see. Let me see if I can get a torch on this. Bit difficult to see there, but there's a gear behind there that looks as though it's butting up to that face, so we need to check that. You can see that this bearing's pushed out a little, but then we know it's tight on that shaft and that we can drift that home once we're in. But the initial issue is just to find out why that case is sitting a little bit proud. So let's lift it off and have a look. Okay, cover off and just looking at the reverse side of it. So we were looking through this hole here from the other side, and there's no way that this gear can be fouling up that flange there, because the thrust washer is quite well proud of that, so it would be butting up to the thrust washer. However, what I have found is this locating dowel here, I think, was having trouble locating on this side, and you might be able to just see there that it's beginning to dig out a rim. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove one of the locating dowels has popped out with the cover, so I don't think that's the issue. But what we'll do is we'll take out this other dowel, see how it fits in here, and then try a test fitment of this cover without the dowels and see if they're the problem. Yeah, I think the problem are the locating dowels. Actually, they're a bit too tight, so I'm just going to dress the two holes here for the locating dowels, and we'll take it from there. Okay, what I found is when fitting the case without the locating dowels, it makes no difference, but just inspecting this again, then I've realised that there was another proud area here that's I presume would have been milled flat originally, and this was also proud of the thrust washer. And if you look at the diameter of this gear here, then it was obvious that this was also catching on that part of the casting too. So I've ground that area now and ground a bit more off this area. So we'll do another test fit without the dowels and see where we sit now. Okay, there we are. We're in. All the bearings in, the locating dowels are in. Fits reasonably well. There's a little tiny bit of a gap there, but you can push the case in and that will close up. The gearbox will no doubt be tight, but we're just about there at this stage anyway, and obviously we'll check all the clearances etc. on the final fitment, and we might need to do a bit of running in on the bench. But anyway, pretty pleased with that. So now we'll go ahead and do a test fit of the outer case with the Kickstart spindle. Okay, that went straight on. Flush fit. Kickstart spindle turns beautifully. Can't quite check the gear change yet. Let's put the oh yeah, it does, it moves, so that's not tight. So what we'll do now, I think we've got an Allen key we can put up there and screw up, just to get a bit of pressure on there, and see if these two spindles still turn fine. Okay, there we go. Whoops, careful. So gear change spindle moves freely, and actually it is trying to change gear as well, which is great news, and Kickstart spindle moves very well as well. So we've yet to install the Kickstart return spring, which we might have a go at now as we've got one. But anyway, pleased with that. We've got one screw in at the top here, which I've nipped up slightly just to make sure everything works. So really pleased with that. So we'll take this off again, put the see if we can get the Kickstart return spring on. It's an absolute pig to do, and then we'll look to find a set of screws for this case. And also there's two fitments where the dowels locate. One is behind the gear change lever here, and one at the back there. These are studs with dome nuts on the end, and I think I've got those. So let's root those out and see if we can complete this side. Okay, that took a little bit of working out, but the Kickstart return spring is now in. There it is under there. When we position this outer case now back onto the inner case here, then we'll need to turn this quadrant, Kickstart quadrant, slightly to make sure that stop there comes around to about here, so that it goes up against the stop there on this side rather than that side. But other than that, we're there with that. What I've also done, which you can't see from here, and I'll show you a bit later on, is I've fitted the Kickstart spindle oil seal and its retainer, which you'll see from the other side, but I don't particularly want to turn this over just yet, so we don't disturb this and it all flies apart and careers across the garage probably. So the last thing to do now, studs are in. Last thing to do now on this side before we fit the outer case is to put the pinion on the end of the main shaft here. So let me dig out the parts for that, and we'll do that final little job. One thing I'm not sure of is whether I've got a nut for this, but let me try and dig those out and we'll take it from there. Okay, we've hit our next challenge. Not much of a challenge, but one nevertheless. So the Kickstart pinion and ratchet fits on the end of the main shaft here. So we've got most of the parts, but we don't have a couple that I need to investigate. So here you can see the layout of the pinion and ratchet mechanism. So obviously we have the bearing already installed on the main shaft. What we need now is a washer there, the spring for the pinion, it's spring loaded. We need a type of, they call it a sleeve, but it's almost like a bearing that the pinion slides on, and then there's the other side of the pinion ratchet followed by a lock washer and then the nut. So we've got two sides of the ratchet, that's fine. We've got the spring for the back of the pinion so it can slide. We don't have the sleeve that fits over here, and although I've got something that will probably fit, that fits in the centre of the pinion, but I need to bore out slightly because it doesn't quite fit on the shaft there. So there's that option, but I'll investigate that a bit more and see what I have in stock. And so what we'll do is probably leave it at there. We'll just fit this outer cover now and put a retaining screw in place just to check the gearbox return spring, and that'll look pretty good. And then we'll probably leave it there for now. But let's just fit this back on one more time, and we'll check out the Kickstart return. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, not doing too well with this final fit. The Kickstart quadrants now being a little annoying and a bit stubborn in that it's not fitting in the other side properly, because I'm fitting in from this side now, with it being installed in the outer cover and pressing in. It doesn't like that at all really, whereas the other way, when we test fitted this, was it was already in position there, but it doesn't like that. We were able to test the return spring fitting though, and that worked okay. And also, as I said before, I've got a little bit to sort out with respect to the Kickstart pinion ratchet that goes on the end here. So we'll leave it there for now. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Making good progress still, and hopefully on the in the next episode we'll have this one we'll put to bed. Thanks again, everybody. See you again soon. Bye bye. No, I was lying. I'm back. I couldn't resist having another go, and success. So we've managed to fit the outer case with the Kickstart and the Kickstart spring. It's a little stiff, but it's working. The gear change mechanism is nice and free. I've got most of the screws and the two dome nuts tightened up. I do want to actually use crosshead screws ultimately, but I don't have quite all the right sizes at the moment. But at least this gives us a good view of the fit. But yeah, pretty happy with that. We've still got the pinion, Kickstart pinion to sort out, which for which I need to scour around for the sleeve, the inner sleeve if I can find one, and also the retaining nut, and also in trying to finally fit this outer case. I've accidentally destroyed the oil seal for the Kickstart shaft, but that's no great sweat. We can sort that out. But yeah, there we are. Success of a sorts, a few bits and pieces inside that cover still to sort out, but a lot of progress. So we'll definitely leave it there for now. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Next episode might focus on the Kickstart pinion side of it, but also on the cover here for the they call it the timing cover. It's actually the cam timing cover, effectively, but it also holds a lot of the mechanism for oil pressure relief, and also oil feed too. So that's all for now. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. That's definitely the last one for the last part of this video. We'll end it there. See you again soon, and thanks again. Cheers.